Hey, what's up, Hoosier fans? Great to be back here with you, Rhett Lewis, as we welcome you to another edition of Under the Hood with Indiana football, presented by your local Central Indiana Ford dealers, proud sponsor of IU football. Reminder to get out there, visit your local Central Indiana Ford dealer today as we continue our series getting to know Coach Sig's first-year coaching staff here in Bloomington. Such an exciting time to be a Hoosier. And one of the reasons that we are super excited about this staff is with us today. Running backs coach John Miller is here with roots in Indiana with his family, having been born and raised here in the Hoosier State. We're glad to have you back as a Hoosier, Coach. Welcome.
Hey, man, I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm excited for you to get a chance to kind of reconnect with some family and be a part, get back into this great state, and certainly excited to see what you can do with these guys on the field. And I know that Coach Sig has had a chance to see you from your time coaching with him at James Madison. You know, for guys still trying to get used to him and understand what he's all about, how do you describe it, having spent time, with him on that JMU staff?
Well, first, I just want to say my time has been great with Coach Signetti, and I'm always grateful for him. He took a chance on me. He saw something in me, so I'm always grateful for him. And I've learned a lot from him, on and off the field. First off, he's one of the greatest football minds I've been around. He sees things before it happens. He can dial things up, and it's really crazy to see it, but, I love seeing him work. And that's the one thing he's always going to work. Everything that he does is revolved around his program. And, you're always going to get 110% from him. And then outside of that, he's a great person. He cares about his players. Everything, he does is revolved around how to make our players better on and off the field. And I think that's why we've been so successful having somebody like that at the head of the program.
Well, as you guys have kind of come together to, get this staff rolling, I know a lot of familiar faces from you coming from James Madison. How would you describe the way this staff has gelled in a short amount of time and try to put the best roster together, and now to get these guys on the field coming up here in short order for spring football?
I mean, when we all got here, man, it was a full speed sprint, just kind of trying to get the lay of the land and, get the feel for the team. But we've come together well as a staff. And I think Coach Signetti put a great staff together. Most of us have been with each other for a few years now, and some new familiar faces. But we've done a great job working together. Everybody's helping out each other. And, that's why we were so successful at James Madison. And now we'll be even more successful here in Indiana.
Yeah, the running back group, obviously, very highly productive over the course of the last couple of years there at James Madison. 175.6 yards per game and nearly 2 touchdowns per game on average over 45 games that you were there coaching at JMU. How would you describe the importance and what the role of the back looks like in this system, as it may compare to others?
We're going to ask our back to do everything. Obviously running between the tackles, the different, run schemes that we have within our offense. But pass protection is one thing. We're big on drop back, so pass protection is really big. I'm coaching it, I'm preaching it every single day. And just the way we incorporate our guys in the pass game, different routes coming out of the backfield, empty formations, putting them in the slot. So we're going to use our backs a lot in our offense. We ask those guys to do a lot. It's why we've been successful at that position and offensively as a whole. But, we're going to put a lot on their plate because we know we can handle it, and, we've been successful with it.
Personnel-wise, a lot of turnover at that position, and in your room here, as is the state of college football these days. You see a lot of it at a lot of different positions, but such is the case. And you guys have done a great job bringing in some real intriguing players, some that you were obviously very familiar with, and a pair of Dukes coming in, and obviously some holdovers. I'll start with the guys that you are really getting a chance to know now, guys like Trent Howland. Who went into the portal, ended up coming back here to IU, big physical back, got a lot of action this past year. With Trent and the group that have been here, what have you learned about them thus far and how they might be able to help us coming up here this fall?
There is, speaking on Trent, just his experience being in the conference, and just knowing what it's like and going up against those guys that we're going to be playing with. Trent's a, great player. I really love what he does on tape. That's why we wanted to try and get him back here to Indiana. I think he brings a lot of value to the offense, and I know he's a downhill, big, strong guy. He definitely is. I mean, first time I seen him, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But he moves really well too. Just seeing him going, through workouts and things like that. And like I said, I think he can help our offense.
And as you talk about asking your running backs to do everything, right? That's obviously the goal for each one of them. Do you see at some point, guys carving out a niche for themselves? Let's say short yardage type situations, or obvious passing situations, anything like that that could accentuate the skill set of some of the different guys in the room.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, as the season goes on, and really even through spring ball, like some guys are going to be better at certain areas of their game, but my job is to make sure, I see those things that they're weak at and to get them up to par. So yeah, that definitely does happen, throughout the season, throughout practice. Certain guys, like I said, are better in certain areas. But like I said, our goal is to create the all purpose back. You got to be able to be the third and one back, and you got to be
Right.
able to routes out of the backfield, and that's why, like I said, we've been successful because we've been fortunate enough to have those type of guys at JMU, and I think we got those guys in my room this year too.
Yeah, and that's what I'm curious about too. Is obviously your experience with Kalen Black and with Tyson Lawton, and now you throw in Elijah Green from North Carolina, Justice Ellison from Wake Forest, talking about some of the newcomers to this room. If you could give us a quick primer on those guys and what attracted you to them, and how you've enjoyed kind of bringing this group together with their additions.
Yeah, I mean, both guys, Justice and Elijah, were successful, at the Power Five level, both being in the ACC. So that's, right off the bat that, struck our interest in those guys. Really great kids, really good grades. That's another big thing. We all obviously want to bring in good players, but players that fit our culture, fit our mold, being a true student athlete. So that was really just a plus. And then, you see them doing different things coming out of the backfield, obviously, like I said, running the ball. But you see him catching, you see him pass blocking. Those are, like I said, all things that we're going to ask our backs to do. And then you just factor in, like I said, them being great people. It was, we were a priority. We had to get them here.
I love seeing that. And how have you noticed their kind of meshing? As I talked about you guys as a staff meshing, have you seen old and new kind of come together within your room, since there has been, some turnover at that position with these guys?
Yeah, I mean, they've been great. I had a meeting with them today, and, they're all
Yeah,
laughing and joking with each other.
good.
There's a lot of good personalities in the room, which I love. So yeah, they've all
Yeah.
come together. And, we preach about being a family, and that's what we are. And they all got each other's back. They push each other in the workouts. But they all know it's coming out of love and being very genuine with each other. So they've come together well, and again, I think that's why we're going to be very successful.
Well, love to hear that, obviously, and also thinking about where we're at in the calendar as we approach spring ball, National Signing Day, now in the rear view, fairly uneventful as it has been for recent years with the calendar shift to the
I
early
know.
signing period in December. I remember when I was playing high school football, man, that first Wednesday in February was like, all right, let's see what
Yeah,
we
you
what
couldn't wait. You had your outfit picked out the day
that's
before.
it.
Yeah.
The whole deal. It's a little different, man. How have you seen it evolve, from your time as a player and even your time entering the coaching profession? It's changed so much.
Yeah, man, it definitely has. And just the recruiting piece, I just feel like everything's a little bit more sped up,
Yeah,
because, with the new signing date in December, like you want to get your guy signed in. But yeah, it's changed a lot. I think it's still gonna keep changing. But to be good, you gotta be able to adapt with the times, offensively, defensively, and even the off the field stuff with recruiting. And I think that's what we've done a really good job at, being this staff, and Coach Signetti's done a good job of being able to adjust and adapt to those times.
right. And that is kind of interesting because the thing that I keep coming back to, the familiar refrain that we've heard from Coach Sig, and it obviously it makes so much sense, even it's in its simplicity. We value production over potential, especially when it comes from the portal and it comes from guys, who you may not have as strong a connection with as guys you spend, a year plus recruiting on the high school level, although some of these guys probably did, right?
Mhm.
As the turnover continues. But, you know, production over a guy who maybe had that high star rating going into his first school and didn't necessarily see those kind of fruits of that production come out at that first school, now into the portal. You guys have made an emphasis on valuing production. How, especially with these guys that you ended up bringing in, how
Right.
valuable is that, especially at the running back position, knowing that they've put it on tape at this level?
Right. It's very crucial. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no better teacher than experience. We can talk it, we can show it, but until you actually go out there and do it and live it, that's a completely different deal. So that's, again, why we've been successful, because we look for guys that have been productive. And that just says something, when you're being productive on a consistent basis, what I mean, it's all about consistency. And so the production piece is something that we really emphasize. I know people, I'm from the show me state. Like, you got to
That's
be able
it.
to, you got to show me that you can really go out there and do it. You can look good in the drills, and you can say all the right things in the meeting room, but it got to show up on the field.
I like that, and certainly looking forward to seeing your guys show up here in spring ball, and then once we get into fall and on the field at the Rock in Bloomington. And speaking of spring ball, what's your messaging to your guys about expectations for these 15 practices? What they mean as you try to build some real momentum going into the summer and into the fall?
It's just all about setting the standard.
Yeah.
Going in from the first day to the last day of spring ball, it's all about setting the standard, being consistent, and just every day preaching, we got to get 1% better at something. What I mean? Whether that's in the meeting room, on the field, it's about being consistent and being persistent at the same time. While also, instilling the different, offense and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's a mental game. If we can instill our standards and let these guys know that we got to get better no matter what. I know you're not going to feel perfect every day, but having that standard, you got to push through, fight through. Because there's going to be games where it's close in the fourth quarter, and you got to that your foundation is what you're going to lean on. So
Yeah.
building that foundation of always pushing through no matter what, that's what we got to get into our guys.
When you're tired, when the score is not in your favor, when the adversity strikes, what you fall back on is the foundation,
No
right? And you
doubt. You got nicks
fall back
and
on the
bruises,
fundamentals.
and you got fans screaming at you, but
Yep.
like that foundation, that's what we got to get.
Right. So much to the point where it becomes muscle memory, right? And it just
E-
automatically clicks in. Uh,
Exactly.
which look, this is a great time for that, right? That's in essence what spring ball can really be about. And it sounds like you are a guy who really appreciates, John, the intricacies of being involved in the day to day of coaching, right? Of
Mhm.
developing skill and developing, men into, productive members of society beyond football when that ends up happening. But how did you acquire that? And why was coaching the right fit for you in your career path?
Well, so I've had a lot of coaches, in my family. My uncle, he growing up was a receiver coach at Michigan. So he coached guys like Braylon Edwards, Mario Manningham.
That's some good ones.
Um, my my grandfather is, in the Indiana High School Hall of Fame. He
Yes.
won like 9 out of 10 track state titles at Gary Roosevelt. So I've always had coaching around me in my life, growing up going to college football games, and I knew that was something I wanted to get into. And just, I love coaching, I'll do it just for the free gear and things. Hey, that's nice, but like you said, I'm really into it, for my guys, and seeing those guys develop, that's what really gives me joy, and I want to, it's all about creating habits, on and off the field, so I want to try and preach to my guys, creating the right habits, that last you a lifetime. You'll be successful no matter what. Football, academics, business, that those, like you said, that's the foundation that I want to instill into my guys.
I love it. I love hearing that messaging, and we're certainly all for that here as Indiana Hoosiers who play for the glory of old IU and all things that this university can bring to you. And what you just mentioned is certainly a big piece of it. John, this has been a blast, man. Getting to know you a little bit. Can't wait to see you out on the field coaching these guys up in spring ball, and then of course when we get into the fall and we get the Rock packed on Saturdays here in Bloomington. This has been
Oh
fun.
yeah,
Thanks
man,
again.
I can't wait, dog. Appreciate you.
Let's do it. All right. Another episode of Under the Hood with Indiana football in the books. Appreciate Ford for continuing to be a part of our program, and reminder to visit your local Central Indiana Ford dealer today. I'm Rhett Lewis. Look forward to seeing you back here for another episode of Under the Hood next week.
Go Hoosiers, baby.